A hilarious new stand-up special from comedy legend Jim Gaffigan, The Skinny, is coming to Hulu November 22nd. This Thanksgiving, see Jim in a whole new light as he gives you the inside scoop on everything from parenting teenagers to weight loss and gaslighting family members. For everyone in need of a happy hour, the new hilarious stand-up special, Jim Gaffigan, The Skinny, premieres November 22nd, streaming on Hulu. Why get all your holiday decorations delivered through Instacart? Because maybe you only bought 2 wreaths, but have 12 windows. Or maybe your toddler got very eager with the advent calendar. Or maybe the inflatable snowman didn't make it through the snowstorm. Or maybe the twinkle lights aren't twinkling. Whatever the reason this season, Instacart's here for hosts and their whole holiday haul. Get decorations from the Home Depot, CVS, and more through Instacart and enjoy free delivery on your first 3 orders. Service fees and terms apply.
Ask me, ask Iliza anything. It's time to ask. Ask me all your questions. Leave them in the Instagram comment section. Leave them on your Twitter or leave them on your Facebook. We'll see them, we'll read them, then we'll give you answers. You know it, I've got it. I've got the answer, you ask me. I'll tell you anything. So, Emily's not here today. You don't know Emily, but you would hate her.
I like her already.
Kate Bowler. It is Bowler.
Yeah, you got it.
I was just like...
This is the friendship, not Bowler.
The mom brain of like, sometimes I, in the moment, will forget very close people to me, like their names when I'm introducing them to people. And I was just like, I know it's Bowler. There's no reason for it to be Bowler. And we are friends. And I'm just coming clean. Kate Bowler is my friend. And we met at the Aspen Ideas Festival, where she led like a Q&A with me about mental health, a subject I'm only abstractly qualified to talk about.
You were so good.
You were so good, and we were so funny together that we were actually asked if we do birthday parties by a very out-of-touch elderly woman.
who was willing to pay more than I felt comfortable with for what I was going to be able to provide.
And considering we did that event for free in Aspen, I was like, we won't be able to deliver, but that's very cute that you thought this was like a planned act. Nope, we're both just that funny. And she has pedigree. This is not just like I had my friend on, I think you'd think this was cool. She is an associate professor of Christian history at Duke Divinity School. I know. You're like, but Iliza, you're Jewish. I'm like, but I contain multitudes. Furthermore, and so you're a doctor. You have a PhD.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Not the real kind, the kind where you just offer unsolicited commentary on movies mostly.
Have you ever, like on a plane, they've been like, is anyone a doctor? And you're like, well, define. You need to know the history. Furthermore, she is the author of 4 New York Times bestselling books. We have her most recent one, Have a Beautiful, Terrible Day, Daily Meditations for the Ups and Downs and In-Betweens. And of course, you guys have I feel like my audience for this podcast is your kind of audience. You have Everything Happens for a Reason, No Cure for Being Human, Good Enough. And
I'm just in favor of like a wild mediocrity. That's what I'm going for.
Just in general?
If you feel like nothing is probably ever if you're never going to live your best life now and you want to talk about it with somebody else and then there's someone specifically that you hate that you think about that is living their best life, then I love you.
Then these are the books for you.
Exactly.
But I feel like under that, you're an incredibly intelligent, the note behind the note is you're like, live your best, like feel shitty, but just know you're doing great. Like it's not doom and gloom. These are very uplifting, steeped in Christianity, but for the masses.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll do my best to use my most inspirational voice during our time together.
I love it. You do have a calming presence. I was saying my daughter said hi to you and she doesn't say hi to anyone that she doesn't know. And she was like, hi. And I was like, she's godly.
Well,
you are godly.
Your child is mannered. Your baby is incredibly well mannered, just stayed entirely inert.
Yeah.
Which is probably the most polite position
just
you can have.
Saying nothing.
Like submissively kind.
Well, he's just very tired because he lived with me for 9 months. You also have several other books like The Preacher's Wife and Blessed, A History of the American Prosperity Gospel, which I think when we had dinner, we talked about all the preachers' wives, like all the famous televangelist wives and how they really are the backbone.
They are. They are. Soft power is real power, as it turns out.
Soft power?
Yeah.
Is that the man behind the woman? Is that soft power?
Yeah, it's influence, not institutional authority. So
Ooh.
everywhere you look, you think the person that's running the business officially is in charge, but it's typically like, I mean, it's our market too.
Do I call my next comedy special Soft Power?
I would die 1,000 deaths of happiness if you did.
See, there it is again. You're like, it's a little dark, but it's really uplifting. Because in the end, I'm happy. My husband says I should call it Afterbirth. And I was like, it's going to repulse anyone who gets the reference.
Gross.
But
I love that.
She's also from Winnipeg, as most of our listeners are. It's mostly Canadian nurses. You also send great gifts in the mail. And you have the intelligence and warmth of what I would think I would like in, say, a pastor if I were a Christian person.
That's nice.
Yeah.
if you want a medium inappropriate.
I think that's the relatability.
Yeah, sure.
Because it makes you're not holier than thou, and you're just like, look, you're going to get cancer. We all do. She's had cancer.
We all do.
I mean, plastic.
No, that's so true.
Like, no,
this
but
is
for
like
real.
what I say to people in the nice way. I'm like, our bodies make mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just make mistakes.
Even God makes mistakes. I shouldn't have had this. I feel that way about like me not getting into the colleges I liked. I'm like, the Lord made a mistake. We fixed it. And your podcast is called Everything Happens. It's interviews with people, famous people, regular people, acclaimed people about hard times and what they got out of it. I think you guys would love it. And it's available where podcast. Who's still asking, like, where can I get it?
There is yeah. Well, it's people who primarily use email for communication.
Right. So older people in general, people who, right. So I asked Emily, I was like, can you cull some good questions, some juicy questions? And I went through these questions just to make sure everything was appropriate for you. This is a very juicy podcast. I'm really excited about these questions.
Oh my gosh.
Sometimes we pull questions and I'm like, come, just dump him next. Like, what are you guys doing? All of these are good. And the first one is actually specifically for you.
Oh, hey.
Yeah. I have a question for Dr. Bowler.
You're like, I met you in 1992. You dismissed me in
Do you
line
remember me?
at the
Yeah.
Walmart.
Hello, pod crew, cats, pups, and sweet toddler and new tiniest baby. My question. I live in North Carolina. My 11-year-old daughter was invited to a Baptist vacation Bible school, one where they said man and dinosaurs walked on the earth together. This completely, I was so nervous you were going to be like, right, correct.
Yeah, I mean,
Like, what do I say to
6,000
her?
years ago, God buried
Yeah.
them together.
This completely confused my child, and when she asked questions, she got some bullying from other kids. She now has such a crisis of faith and doesn't know if she even believes in God anymore. How do I help her? We have sat down with our priest. We're Catholic in a very open and accepting church. I just wonder if there's something I can do, a book or some way to explain what that church believes, how they got there, and why does not make her relationship with God any different. That you can believe in science and God. Dr. Bowler?
Oh, hey. Well, I guess, I mean, it sounds like what a great mom just to say, we're gonna also like sat down with our priest means you're like, hey, all the information you want to know about God and the world is available to you, smart kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like your questions are not, I think that's one of the difficult things about those sometimes like intense spiritual environments like summer camp or whatever is. There starts to be like a group think around what questions are okay. And then you start to wonder if maybe if you ask a
Or
different
Yeah, go on.
kind of question.
Yeah.
I had that experience at my I sat down this like 6'5" gentle giant named Merv, who was my summer camp director when I was 14. I was like, hi, we're gonna have to go over gender together.
Like, this is ahead of my time, but
this
Merv,
poor man was like,
yeah.
But what I learned from that experience was, one, it's pretty difficult to change other people's minds. But when it comes to like the kind of person you want to make your kid, that their curiosity is probably the most important thing about them, not just intellectually, but spiritually. Like science and religion have joyfully coexisted since, to be honest, like since evolution was first floated.
Mm-hmm.
It was predominantly accepted as a Christian position.
Mm-hmm.
It was only in the 1920s that people started using evolution primarily as a culture war issue.
Oh my God, that's fascinating.
So it got introduced kind of as a wedge issue. So unfortunately, people kind of inherit this obstacle course of what they feel like they have to accept in order to be a good Christian. But in truth, we've had like a much wider range of acceptable positions until we started being basically culture warriors. So I would just say that it's an unfortunate glitch in the system, but that the broader Christian tradition has so much in it that has made a joyful complementary piece with evolution that it shouldn't. And the more she reads, the happier she'll be about it.
Oh, I like that. So what do you tell her? Do your own research.
I know. Well, I could only think of like unbelievably intense like history books about it. But I would probably just say that like anytime someone says like the war, that science is in opposition to religion, that view is only about 100 years old. And it was.
Is that an idea that came out of Europe or came out of America?
Well, I mean, the ideas were like, there's much more sort of transatlantic kind of idea exchange kind of the whole time. But I would say that American culture wars have really like calcified around this stuff. So it's kind of very, very American to be like, there's 5 things you need to know. Like,
so true.
Jesus buried the dinosaur bones. But unfortunately it's become like, I remember someone in my family suddenly became a creationist, like the earth was made 6,000 years ago because they read an American hunting magazine. I was like, no, we're Canadian. Like, we don't have to do this.
Don't subscribe to that magazine. We don't have to do this.
This is just American culture wars. Like, we don't have to do this.
We don't have to do this. I like the rewarding the curiosity. Like that's like a very special thing.
I always like telling my kid, all your questions are the good ones. Like, and frankly, the more spiritual you are, if you become dumber, we have a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I was so glad. I'm like, I don't have the answer to that. That seems hard. So we'll just leave it with you. I
also wish I had like more accessible history books in my brain. I'm sorry.
Nobody wants to hear that. I mean, just the fact that the second you said like in the 1920s, I was like, and that's her answer is the good one. She cited a date and the source and we're good. A hunting magazine. Yeah. Fall has fallen. Winter is on its way. The days are shorter. But just because, they feel shorter. And just because the days feel shorter doesn't mean your to-do list gets any shorter. You still have to power through your busy days. And a great way to do that is with nutritious food from Factor's no prep, no mess meals. At the end of a short day in the fall or the winter, the last thing you want to do is have to cook. Factor has got you covered from breakfast, snacks, dinner, anything in between. Factor has easy, nutritious options to keep you fueled, like their chicken Florentine with spinach and garlic chili cauliflower. You bet. That's what I want to make myself at the end of a day where I am exhausted and my husband isn't home. Whether you like routine or you enjoy mixing things up, Factor has you covered with 35 different delicious meals every week and over 60 additional convenience options you can add on, like keto cookies, pressed juices, and smoothies. And because Factor meals are chef prepared and dietitian approved, you're going to love not only Factor's meals taste, but also how they support your goals, even if your goal was just making yourself dinner. Head to factormeals.com/Iliza50 and use code Iliza50 to get 50% off your first box and 20% off your next month. That's code Iliza50 at factormeals.com/Iliza50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. The holidays are here. And for a lot of us, the holidays mean decorating, hosting, celebrating. For me, it means a lot of traveling. And nothing feels better year-round, but especially during the cozy holidays, than a restful night's sleep in soft, luxurious sheets. Boll & Branch's signature sheets are made with the finest 100% organic cotton, and they get softer with every single wash. You already know that I got Boll & Branch this summer when I needed breathable sheets to sleep in, but this holiday season, I'm actually gifting some of my friends and family Boll & Branch's Ultimate Softness Bundle. I get to choose a signature hem sheet set in any color, a signature hem pillow set, and a waffle bed blanket. And they're all getting juniper because I think it's a classy color. This way you know you have something nice to sleep on when you visit. It's the perfect gift for you and them. Gift you and your loved ones a better night's sleep with Boll & Branch. And right now is their best offer of the entire year. For 25% off plus free shipping on your first set of sheets, head to bollandbranch.com/Iliza. That's Boll & Branch, BOLLAND branch.com/Iliza for 25% off. Limited time only, exclusions apply. See site for details. So finally, fall is here.
I have been looking forward to it. I have had a hard year in a good way. I had a baby. I have been on a nonstop tour, nonstop traveling, and it's been hot. So I'm looking forward to, of course, pumpkin spice, everything, cooler weather, and slipping into a cozy sweater from Quince. I've talked about Quince before. Quince has beautiful leather jackets, cotton cardigans, soft denim, and so much more. All Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. Dressing expensive doesn't have to be expensive. Their clothing is beautiful, it's durable, it stands the test of time, and it's what I like to call a capsule wardrobe. I got an Italian wool cocoon coat. That's one of those, it's got like a European collar and it covers my butt so I can walk around New York City and not be chilly. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices. Get cozy in Quince's high-quality wardrobe essentials. Go to quince.com/Iliza for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/Iliza to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Iliza.
I'm 41, male, and I live in Idaho. I work in a relatively small office with about 20 people. There are only 4 men working in the office. My dilemma. One of the other guys in the office refuses to flush the toilet after he is done, regardless if he's taking a pee or dropping a D.
No.
When I confronted him about it, good for you.
Yeah.
He said it's a waste of water to flush the toilet and that you can get at least one more use, quote unquote, out of the toilet water before flushing it. I'm all for saving our Earth's resources and being ecologically responsible, but I draw the line on this. What would you say to somebody like this or who really is practicing what they preach, but it's gross as fuck? Thank you. And you can use my first name. It's Tim. Because Tim's hoping his coworker will hear this.
Oh my gosh, that's so upsetting. Yeah, I have had experiences with groups that have a strong water conservationist policy. It never went that far.
Yeah, you work at like Home Depot. Like, there's no reason this guy doesn't have to be Captain Planet.
Yeah, well, and it's primarily about the environment. It's not about the cost. Because you could pay him 25 cents every time he flushes the toilet.
I don't think he's the owner of the business.
No, it doesn't sound like, it doesn't.
I think he's just like, I'm trying to save the planet. Only because I have some experience with clogged toilets. When you leave toilet paper, like when you don't flush, the toilet paper breaks down and it can actually clog the pipes. It's actually bad for your toilet, which is weird. You'd think like, oh, if the toilet paper sort of disintegrates, no. So then it will end up costing time and resources, and your toilet maybe will start to run. Like, it will cause problems. Yeah. So you're going to be hurting someone or something.
On top of the fact that this is like really hurting their relationship and a sense of decency.
Because it's also like, what's this power trip? Like, he's like, look at my shit. Look at it, Tim.
It's very primal over there.
Yeah. Like, why not just shit on someone's desk and just conserve water altogether? So he's like, what do I say? I'm like, yeah, that's so uncomfortable.
Other than you're the grossest person I'm aware of, but I mean, I've had these I've had these arguments about pee before with family members where I'm like, this is actually not good for either of us, for me to feel stressed every time I enter a bathroom and feel like I'm entering into a time of discovery. And that what I'm going to learn about you, I don't want to learn. I can't unlearn.
That's true. I can't unlearn what you had for
lunch.
lunch.
You've given me too much information about who you are, and now we can't level the playing field again.
Tim, lucky for you, you're a man, so people will take you seriously and you're not going to get called a bitch for not wanting to look at someone's turds. I say you march right up to him when he's sitting in his F-150, having a snack break, vaping, and you're just like, Roy, you gotta flush your shit. It's illegal.
Yeah,
you're breaking, and also
that's good. That's a good argument.
Also, if you want to get petty with him, you could start citing all the things that he does that are not environmentally sound. Because I guarantee you, this guy does not have it all buttoned up.
Also, that really does sound like bullying. You could say that you're going to report him to HR.
Yeah, like, what is he, a gorilla? Like, just like leaving your droppings? Yeah. Relatively small office. You have a boss you can talk to. I mean, never underestimate the power of public shaming.
You could just constantly write signs that was like, I know it was you.
Yeah. In shit on the hood of his car. And just be like, what? No water was wasted here. And I walked to work to get some of the anxiety. I don't know.
It's also a workplace environment that I feel sad for Tim. I feel like he is trying his best to just get through the day.
It's Idaho, so probably not a ton of job options.
I love there's a lot of, oh my gosh, poor Idaho. I always ask nonstop potato related questions every time I meet someone from Idaho.
Have you been to Idaho?
I haven't.
It's gorgeous. And I had the privilege of playing Boise for the first time. And it's all me and Hunter, who's my opener, talk about is how can we get back to Idaho?
Oh.
Those dates are coming up. It's like secretly one of the fastest growing cities in America.
Huh.
And they don't want you to know that because it's a little pride from my cold dead hands. But aside from that, it's gorgeous.
Well, Tim, help's coming. Better people are going to move to your general area.
Yeah. And they're going to do worse things because they'll be coming from grosser cities. Okay. I almost didn't read this one because I was like, it's almost a brain teaser. So you have to track it.
Okay.
You're like, I have a PhD. I can do it.
I'm already doubtful.
It's just, okay, here we go. My 30 sister Kyla's. Okay, so the sister is named Kyla. Maybe this person's 30. Okay, so these ages don't matter. These people are 28 and 30-ish. Okay.
Great. Late 20s. Love it.
There we go. My sister Kyla's childhood best friend, Dan, 28, and new girlfriend of about a year, Julia, 28, set unreasonable and hurtful boundaries. It all stemmed from a concert a group of us were at a few months ago where it came to light that Dan, so this is my sister Kyla's childhood best friend, Dan. So this is your sister's best friend. Okay. It all came to light that Dan and I had a drunken one-night stand close to 10 years ago. Julia, who's the girlfriend, didn't know this. And they basically went off, and Julia basically went off on her own the rest of the concert. We don't see each other very much, but do have the same circle of friends. And Dan and Julia are always getting invited to game nights, brunches, and parties, as Kyla and I host a few throughout the year. Got it?
Yep.
Okay. Don't I feel like a fool when Kyla, your sister, comes home after guilting Dan into getting a coffee after months of blown off plans to explain the reason we haven't seen them is because Julia, the girlfriend, hates me and decided to never be in a setting where I am and told Dan, her boyfriend, she doesn't want him around me either. The big issue. Dan and I are in my sister Kyla's wedding party in a few months. And now she's super stressed about any drama that might arise since it will involve Dan being in the same space as me basically all day. I tried to talk to Julia to apologize for how I had made her feel uncomfortable, and it was never my intention, but she told Dan that she wouldn't even be in the same room as me, so her mind is made up. Kyla, might be Kayla, right? Is now uninviting Julia, oh my God. Kyla, the sister, is now uninviting Julia from the wedding.
Oh boy.
And she's considering replacing Dan, her childhood best friend. By the way, I'm the only one that needs these tiny reminders. In the wedding party and just inviting him alone as a guest, but doesn't want to regret not having them as they've been best friends since kindergarten. A few extra notes. Now, normally I'm like, it's too much context, but I do think we need to hear this. Julia, the girlfriend, made a social media post about having a hard time making girlfriends when she moved with Dan. And when I saw it, despite it being cringy as hell, I told my girlfriend group that we should plan a night out with her and get to know her better. That never happened because I found out the girls just want to steal my boyfriend post was about me. Okay. Even though I have never tried, I was in a happy relationship for almost the entire time I knew her. She said I'm a lesser version of her and need therapy because her therapy, quote unquote, fixed her issues. I spoke with the other friends in the group to see if I was out of line or something that would justify such a strong reaction. And they expressed that I've always been a good friend and they do not like her as she is isolating Dan from them as well. Kayla also asked Dan how he would feel if the tables were flipped, and her fiance hated Dan's brother. Now I'm lost. He just said, I don't know, and got teary about it. That is Dan's first real adult relationship, so to him, he's head over heels blindly in love with her. This is also bringing up a lot of feelings from when I was young and I got bullied and excluded by the girls in my middle school. So this is a really low feeling considering I thought she and I would be friends when they started dating because we have a lot of the same interests. I don't know what advice I'm looking for. Kyla, misses her best friend, and the group is basically being forced to choose if they want to see me or them at gatherings because Dan and Julia won't come. You have to learn how to use commas. Julia won't come if I'm there, which makes everyone uncomfortable. And I want Kalia to not be so stressed about her wedding party. Is there even any way to save their friendship?
Oh, boy. Yeah. And that sounds like that was a lot of emotional fact finding to figure out how much Julia hated her, which is also really painful.
Yeah.
Sounds like she did a lot of chasing. Like, I don't hear any bit of that where Dan was like, hey,
Thank you.
just checking. Just wondering about our relationship. It's like, doesn't really sound like Dan's really the only person, I think, with a responsibility to try.
Thank you. Because I was like, I'm not going to jump in. We'll let Kate go. And then I'll swoop in with my hot take. And you stole my thunder. You stole my heat. Because that's the take. That's exactly what it is.
Because, like, it does. I'm a very sensitive person. I always feel so sad if there's some kind of thing between me and somebody else. But, like, it sounds like there's been already so much energy spent on that just mostly was wounding for probably a reason that will go away in the end, which is that somebody like that is just very hard to keep around in the long term with.
That girlfriend.
Yep.
The girlfriend is not going to be around.
No.
This is what I tell a lot of my listeners. I'm like, in 3 years, this person won't be. He will get tired of how clingy she is.
Yeah.
He's the problem.
Yeah. Or he'll become a person that you just, which he kind of is being right now, is someone you don't even really want.
Also, first of all, he is not being a man in this situation. It's okay to cherish your girlfriend. Especially, if you have like a wife, like obviously you'd pick her over everyone else. But to not stand up for yourself or anything, or even rationally, the fact that you never told your girlfriend, by the way, this girl we're spending a lot of time with is someone I slept with.
Yeah.
That's disrespectful to the girlfriend who already is insecure.
Yeah.
And based on the way this sounds, even though I think I butchered it as I was reading it, moved to a city to be with him. So she's already vulnerable. She already, and probably does have trouble making friends with girls. I find that girls that say that kind of don't, like, you're kind of the problem. Like, here, this girl's like, I wanted to invite her out, but she feels betrayed. And that's Dan's fault.
That's good.
Cards on the table, just, we slept together 10 years ago. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Because you're making a jackass out of her. Now, she feels like you kept that from her.
And now everybody feels stupid except Dan.
Dan, who's just like crying, oh, it's my girlfriend. It's his fault.
And his relationship with his childhood best friend, those are really precious. You know someone your whole life.
Yep.
In some very well-documented ages, at least 28 through 30 years. And like, that's a really long time to know somebody. What I would want from a Dan in my life is like hey, this is so awkward. My girlfriend feels really uncomfortable in this situation. We're going to have to figure out a different way to be friends in the near whatever.
From a mistake that he made.
Yes. As opposed to just running around quietly with other people and not seeing them anymore.
But also by not divulging that fact, Dan makes it like he has feelings. Because why hide it?
Yeah.
When I met my husband, I'm like, oh, here, like, it's not about like coming clean. It's just like, here's just things that you should know. Or if we're going to this thing, just know that I went on a date with that guy. It's just a courteous thing to do.
Yeah.
And especially, it'd be one, you don't have to if you're just going to see someone randomly, like who cares, but you're going to be spending all this time together.
Yeah.
He fucked up. And also, what does that say about him that he's willing to tank this relationship, this friendship?
I think that's one of those, he sounds so non-confrontational where people just kind of, it's death by a thousand small losses where they think they're being self-protective. They don't stand up at the right time. And then they just hemorrhage loss after loss. And like now there's not a lot left for anybody, which is so sad. I think she should leave the wedding thing alone. Like the girlfriend can kind of she can take herself out of that situation.
She doesn't need to go to this wedding.
Yeah. But like, it's really stressful to uninvite. How do you uninvite somebody? Dear sir or ma'am. Like, how's that going to go?
Please uncircle chicken or fish. Yeah. So you're saying, I don't know what advice I want. First of all, you should definitely be going to the wedding.
Yeah.
Dan should be invited and give her the option to grow the fuck up and either come or not come because her issue is with Dan, not with you.
Yeah, that's good.
Right?
Yeah, that's right. And friend loss is real loss. And it feels weird because we don't really know how to name the fact that we have a certain kind of grief related to stuff we find hard to describe. So
Interesting.
it sounds like she really, like, there's so much love there, but it's
Mhm.
just all being sexualized in one way. And now it's a mess.
Yeah. And you feel vulnerable because you're like, I tried to like take this girl out.
Yeah.
And everybody feels really bad. Try doing a come to Jesus because the ball's going to be in her court of like, can you get over it? And can he apologize appropriately to everyone?
Yeah.
Because you didn't do anything wrong.
Or just behave normally. Gosh.
But I also weirdly feel bad for the girlfriend who's just like, oh, did I just walk into like a weird family fuck fest? Like you guys slept together and now we're still friends and you didn't tell me? I'd be annoyed too, even though she sounds awful. She has a right to be annoyed.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Terrible surprise. And she feels dumb.
And if he ends up with this girl, like some men just commit themselves to a life with like lame girls and like you're going to have to let him do that.
Yeah.
And just like accidentally have kids that you kind of don't want and then just like be unhappy. It's always like these lame guys that are like, I guess it's whatever she wants. And you're like, fine, enjoy your fucking life.
I like how quickly that spiraled.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, and then he joins a cult, and then he digs a bomb shelter, and then no one sees him
He
again.
runs for Senate.
A hilarious new stand-up special from comedy legend Jim Gaffigan, The Skinny, is coming to Hulu November 22nd. This Thanksgiving, see Jim in a whole new light as he gives you the inside scoop on everything from parenting teenagers to weight loss and gaslighting family members. For everyone in need of a happy hour, the new hilarious stand-up special, Jim Gaffigan, The Skinny, premieres November 22nd, streaming on Hulu.
Everybody sleeps, but no two people sleep alike. At Coop Sleep Goods, we celebrate the way you sleep differently. We believe everyone deserves a great night's sleep with their own pillow, and the adjustable, customizable Coop pillow makes it easy. Whether you're a side sleeper, back sleeper, or even a starfish, we've got the perfect pillow for you. Crafted with our innovative memory foam and microfiber fill, our hypoallergenic pillows adjust to you, not the other way around. Just tailor the fill for the perfect fit. Add some in, take some out, until your pillow's just right for you. See why luxury hotels and spas worldwide feature Coop Sleep Goods and why we have tens of thousands of 5-star reviews. With our 100-night risk-free trial, you've got nothing to lose, except those sleepless nights. Get up to 50% off selected items during our Black Friday Cyber Monday sale when you visit coopsleepgoods.com/comedy. That's COOP sleepgoods.com/comedy.
This is a little bit lighter.
Okay.
How much effort do I need to put? A lot of these are about women against women. How much effort do I need to put into giving my ex-husband's brothers, so your
Mhm.
ex-brother-in-law's
Mhm.
pregnant girlfriend, or baby gifts? Context. I bought these gifts for my ex-husband's brother's girlfriend before I asked for the divorce from my husband about a month ago. Let's call her A, and my husband's brother J. I set up a time and a place to give A, the girlfriend, the gifts, and she didn't show. I reached out again to try to set up a replacement plan, but never heard back.
Oh, boy.
I can't give them to my husband because he's staying on his grandmother's property, which A is not allowed on because she met J through his cousin M, who A was engaged. This has got to be a joke. Are you spelling out something? Are you spelling out a message? Like, help me. Cousin who N was engaged at the time has been sleeping with J. Okay, so it's a super big, trashy mix-up, trashy pretzel knot. Basically, you can't give him to the ex-husband. So my ex-husband wouldn't be able to give her the gifts either because he doesn't have a car and she can't go to him.
No.
There's Uber, probably
No.
in rural Missouri. No.
Yeah.
How many more times
No.
should I reach out to her before I just give the gifts to someone else with a baby?
No. Don't. What?
Zero.
That's zero.
Zero. We're done.
It's so weird though. This impulse to be the person who tries.
Mm.
And then way after there's any
Nobody cares.
it's
Yeah.
just, I mean, it's like now you went to the effort and now it's just loss after loss. So no, you just have to tell yourself you're the kind of person who bought a gift
Mhm.
for somebody's sister, regardless of how important that relationship was. And now either have a different baby and use that present yourself. Or
Have
give it
another
away.
baby is
That's-
the takeaway.
yeah. That's right.
By any means.
Yeah. And a different baby, like that I specified that each baby has to be
Has their own gifts.
separate.
Yeah, I guess you raised an interesting issue. Like, what is it in you, for better or for worse, that feels, is this a way to keep the ex-husband close? Is this a way to look good? Are you just a good person and you just want to give this little baby a present?
I feel like we're all just dying of being good people. Just running around, signing up for errands. And then I like to sometimes like pinpoint the or source idea of when I thought I was being nice and then be like, wow, that got away from me. And then I'm like 10 errands in to an original, like, hey, I should do this. And I'm like, why? Who? And who am I? Can I still be myself if I just stop doing this work?
You're doing errands for people?
Oh, I find I'm like, it's very, if you give a mouse a cookie, it just gets out of hand.
Oh, see, I'm that mouse. You're the one giving the cookies. You actually even brought me peanut butter brittle.
No, that's different. I have an overwhelming love of sarcasm and gift giving.
Okay.
I find it's more like I wore a shirt. The shirt is slightly, I should get it tailored. Where's the tailor? Is the tailor across town? It's only available 2 to 4. And then I never circle around to being like, did I like that shirt enough
in the first place?
Enough to like section off a day?
Yeah. You're like, because now I'm moving.
Vital errands that I've now. So it really I find errands just like fall downhill and then collect. They're just a huge snowball by the end.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And this, especially when it's related to a story you have about yourself, there's no way to limit yourself from doing it.
Sorry, say that again?
Well, like if she wants to be a good person, especially when it's related to like a primary story we have about yourselves. I'm the kind of person who,
okay,
then it's really hard to stop yourself.
Or are you trying to prove yourself that you're not that kind of person? So you're like, I will get a gift because I'm not a piece of shit.
That is a very good argument.
I'm just positing it, but also.
Then it proves I don't hate my ex-husband.
Why can't he give the gift? First of all, men can't be trusted with baby gifts. And it'll get stuck in the trunk of his non-existent car. Something's up. Something's up. I'm just telling you so you can hear me. Something's up with you and this ex-husband, I think.
It's good.
You want to look good. You're getting a divorce. You want to look like a good person.
Your high roading has now led to this baby gift debacle.
If that is, just cut out these people. Just in that story that turned out to be an acronym with A and J and M, alphabet soup story. No. But I am the mouse. And if you give a mouse a cookie, like if you invite me over, I'll be like, can I look in your medicine cabinet? Can I have a sweater? Do you need snacks? Can I have some milk? Okay, which is not the takeaway from that book. I have a close friend who is, okay, I feel like you are uniquely positioned to this, having nothing to do with the actual details, but more the compassion.
I hope there's how many sexy love triangles are we going to get to in the middle?
This one's not sexy at all.
Man.
This one's about filth.
All right.
I have a close friend who started renting out a room in her home as she lives in a popular tourist destination. I stayed with her for 4 days while in town for work, and there were a few pros, like being in a close friend's home, which makes things more comfortable. It's cheaper. It's in a neighborhood I love. However, there's one issue that makes all the pros not worth it. The house is filthy. Years of grime on all surfaces, items shoved into every surface imaginable, which means things falling all around the house constantly. Dried cat pee on the floors. Dried cat poop in the pay-to-rent guest room. It's worse than turds in the toilet. Cat hair on literally any surface you may wish to sit on. I'm not a clean snob. I know a lot of people live for years in grimy environments due to mental health reasons or just not knowing how to clean. But the cat pee and poop really make it unbearable. What's worse is she bragged to me about a spring deep clean before my arrival. She's hoping to make income from this room, and I struggle to see that happening. I was supposed to stay with her next month, but have already texted her that it's no longer in my plan. How would you, Kate, kindly communicate? She didn't say Kate, but I don't want to answer this. How would you kindly communicate to someone the issue, if at all? Would you say something or let guests not returning ultimately clue her in? I want to be a good friend and let her know it's a problem, but also, how exactly do you tell someone their home is filthy?
Oh, man. And they're good friends, and not that she actually wants to stay with her.
Yeah, they're good friends.
And she really doesn't know?
I think sometimes you go like nose blind.
Yeah.
Like my house is very clean, as you've seen, covered in dog hair.
What?
It's everywhere.
No.
Yeah, her thick white superior Chinese dog hair.
She's really soft.
It's because
You're
it's
just
a new
wearing
coat.
She's just wearing a sweater.
Yeah.
It's a new coat every hour.
Just self-generating. And I don't realize how much, I mean, it's not disgusting, but like it's in my bed. And like I don't really care or notice it. but I'm sure someone who was like allergic to dogs would.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like with cat owners, sometimes you don't realize it.
I remember one time this very nice librarian was like, hey, because I was very sick at the time with cancer. And she's like, I do this like healing therapy thing. It's just very chill. It's like a couple blocks from my house. It'll be so nice. And I was like, okay. For some reason, I was in a position where I just said yes to everything, and she wanted to help me.
What if that was the thing?
And
that's what did it. That cured it.
That's right. I went over to her house and I was like, oh no, you're the grossest person that I know who I've been working with this many years.
Yeah.
But it like to the naked eye, it seemed like it was okay. But just 2 minutes in, it was the cat smell everywhere in every surface, like even in the hardwoods.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, no, it's okay. I'll just leave with my cancer. That's all right.
I'd rather keep the cancer.
You can keep your energy healing. So she would not have known. So I'm picturing this lovely, sweet person and thinking about this question. You're right. Some people genuinely don't know. I am the kind of person who would, in a lightly joking way.
Oh, you would make a joke?
I would test it. I'd be like,
what?
I would make.
I'm like dying to hear.
It's so great to do this in front of a professional
I'm
comedian too.
I'm not like, let's hear it. You think you're so funny. I'm like, I don't know. I wouldn't make a joke, so I'm like dying to hear.
I don't know. I think I might just be like, oh wow, nothing's true about cat ladies, huh? I would reach for it a little bit. I would.
Yeah.
Only because I would want to see if they think it's at all like in the atmosphere of like, do you think this is a factor? I would be so tempted to tell a friend. Unless you have a history where they just don't accept maybe this is just about a history of their confrontation. Yeah.
Some friends, I don't know. There are definitely people in my life where I'm like, this person cannot take feedback. Like you cannot. So it doesn't affect me whether they take the advice or not. And so I just say nothing.
What if it was like, you could just make it about allergies? Like not about gross.
Mm-hmm.
Like not be like, hey friend, I've cared about you a long time, but it turns out that you're gross and it's demonstrable. And it's now a barrier to public safety. So instead of going that route, you could be like, I find that late in life, developing allergies. Is there blah, blah, blah?
Well, she already isn't going to her house. So it's weird to call back and be like, also, I have allergies, so I'm double not coming. I also feel like when people have cat allergies and you have a cat, we tend to get annoyed at people. Like there is that thing like when you go out to eat and someone's like, I have a shellfish allergy, or like, ugh. Like when you don't have the thing, whether it's some gluten or whatever, we're so overrun by people with their excuses in our society that when someone genuinely has it, we have like no space for them.
No, that's so true.
Like, oh, you're nut allergy.
I'm sorry, you're going to go into shock.
Yeah.
I knew that my best friend was my best friend because she in her move, she had a choice of whether to bring her cat or let the cat stay with her parents. She didn't bring the cat because I'm allergic.
Oh, wow.
That was like, oh, I guess we're dying together.
Yeah.
I guess we're going to do interlaced fingers and a kidney share if my organs weren't compromised. I was
Who wants it?
I was more moved by that.
Wow.
Than anything
Were
else.
you living together?
No. I'm just over at our house like every 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay.
And then she just knew. She knew.
A cat. I mean, okay, look, I don't want to lose half my followers here. I think it depends on how close you are as a friend. And I also think deep down, are you telling her this because you really want her to make money on this and you really root for her? Or is there a part of you that's like, so fucking gross and it's going to feel good to make you feel like a little bit bad about this? So where is it truthfully coming from? Dig deep. Make sure it's not holier than thou. Because I can't tell you, mine wouldn't be like, by the way, I need you to admit you're gross. Dig deep. It will affect you not at all. Because you're never staying there again unless you do go there often. And she will learn that when people start leaving shitty reviews.
Yeah. So it's just whether the confrontation is with you or with a stranger.
Yeah. And I think going back to what you said about people who receive feedback, if you have no reason to think she won't, there's no reason for her to be mad at you if you're like, I have to tell you, I know you did a deep clean. I just think there are some other things like as your friend. Because if she really thought about it, you stand to gain nothing from telling her this. Like you're not trying to make her feel bad.
Yeah.
Where are you? Where are you? So it's really just, will it cost you more? Like, is it worth it?
Yeah. I guess I do like the idea though, like either way, if you're coming at it in a place of love where it's either going to be from you if she can hear it, or it'll be from a stranger and she'll hear it anyway. And then you just have to be the person who's like going to put down the shiv and be like, yeah, it's so weird that you got that information.
So weird. But then she's going to be like, is that true? Why didn't you say anything?
Yeah, I'd be like, it's weird, but I actually have all these diary entries and I wrote into a podcast.
Just listen to this podcast. I think you telling her this, it's a litmus test of your relationship based to see how she receives the information. So really, she's auditioning to be your friend.
I like it. I do think that having a track record of being able to tell someone something hard is probably the greatest, like, refining of a friendship. If you can hear uncomfortable things from each other, you're just like adding years to your collective life.
There are versions where like I definitely have friends where it's like you cannot give that like they become like weirdly violent. So I just don't. And I'm like, you can fucking hang yourself, but we'll still be friends because you've made it really uncomfortable for me to tell you the truth.
Yeah. Or you told a version of something before.
Yeah.
But you know deep down if she can hear it.
Yeah. So just decide.
Yeah.
Cat pee never comes out.
Oh my gosh. Why?
It's something about witches and poison. It's all the trapped souls of children in the urine. Yeah. What's worse, not flushing your poop or leaving your pee as a cat everywhere? Okay, so let me think about that.
I do feel like the poop was super aggressive.
Just agree to use. It's
poor Tim. I just want something nice to happen for Tim.
He lives in Idaho. He's fine.
Yeah. Well, now I've learned it's the place I'm going to go.
You got to go.
Just not to that one. If you could just write us back with the location.
We should need to know where you are. My freshly 18-year-old. Okay.
People love ages on this podcast.
This is from years of me berating them that they are not specific with their questions and I don't get enough context.
And now it's so
contextual. Too much.
You have like the nicest, most rule-abiding listeners.
Because they're Canadian. They're Canadian and they're Australian and they're from places like Minnesota. Yeah. And it's just nice, for the most part, just nice people who have shitty friends in their weddings. And a lot of nurses who tend to be helpers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aww.
My freshly 18-year-old, who is a senior in high school and who will be going away to college this summer, recently told me she lost her virginity. The nature of this seemed to be casual, and I'm disappointed because we've had so many conversations about self-worth and values. I'm struggling on how to help guide her more as she prepares to leave for school soon. How do I balance challenging her to think more about her values while still showing support, although I'm frustrated with this recent choice to engage in casual sex? Thank you so much in advance for creating the space for parents.
Aw. Man. And I can't tell what the values are. Like, was there a value system in the home that kind of maybe naturally broke that rule? Or like, was there a rule in the first place?
I don't know. I think maybe in the way the daughter described it, she just made it sound super casual, which could have been her like not wanting to get into it with you.
Yeah.
Like sometimes maybe the guy like wasn't into her. So she's like, oh, it was no big deal, but it did break her heart. Or maybe it just was like shitty sex and it like lasted for like 15 seconds, which is a while. And it just didn't mean as much as you would have hoped it would have meant. It's hard to tell.
Yeah. It's so funny too. There's so many people I know who have these like a really lovely sense of self-worth and all these kinds of things that you would hope for like an adult woman. And when they describe their first sexual encounter, they're just like, eh. And it was like just full shrug. Like I would have thought it'd be like, you're expressing who you are with your body. And then I get very like Cameron Diaz, it's a promise you made with your body. Do you remember that movie? She's screaming at Tom Cruise and she's like, we had sex. It was a promise we made to each other with our
Vanilla
bodies.
Sky? What are we
It's Vanilla Sky.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I just reached into a weird Cameron Diaz place in my mind.
I reached into, I don't know where that, I didn't even see it. Okay.
So you're just hoping that.
Is it though? I mean, for a woman, sex is there's oxytocin. You are physically taking a man into you if you're having heterosexual sex. But I also, when you're younger, you don't know what you want. Do I want the sex that they tell me I should have in movies? Do I want this? Do I like him? Do I want him to like me? Is it whatever? It's so confusing. I would think the question is like, were you hurt? Did you want to do it?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's okay to want to do something and it just wasn't that good. And I think it's also okay to be like, yeah, oh well. And I get that it was the first time, but I think it's more about like, did she feel not so much empowered, but okay about the choice? Because I think we have this weird, you don't want your daughter to just sleep with people because it does chip away at you if you're just fucking people all day long. But there is something to sleeping with people, rejecting people, seeing what you like, always making sure that when you're having sex, it's because you want it. And I think that's a note that's easier given than heard. Because we've all had sex as young girls. We were like, I didn't really want to, and it was not good, or I did, So I don't know what else it was said, but I think the main thing is like, hopefully she didn't feel bad about it.
I guess I'm thinking about the values because for, most either ethical or religious traditions, there's a set of hopes for what sex is going to be and when it's going to be and what it will mean. And so if you felt like your daughter wasn't living in accordance with her own values, then it does feel like it's worth a conversation about like what do you believe and what are you hoping for? Like where do you want this to go? I just find it kind of wild though that now some of the most like sort of people who find rich meaning in their life according to their own religious value system are very shruggy about some of their earlier choices. Like it just didn't end up meaning what they thought it would.
Because you can't know.
Yeah. I do think, because sometimes these things are learned experientially and sometimes it's just like a value congruity. So just maybe just checking in on like, is this part of you becoming who you want to be, or was this just an experiment and you're not really sure what it means right now?
Right. Also, I think the older we are when we talk about these things, like I don't want to go into like the third guy I had sex with. Like, okay, whatever. Like I just had 2 kids. Like I don't fucking care. I think, but I think also as a mom, like that's your little angel. Like that's your baby and you want it. It's never great. Like the first time, like it's fine or it's cool, but it's never like oceans were crashing and I'm in love. You wanted her to have special things because she's your baby and you want it to be special for her. And just looking back at my own life and all like tiny mistakes I've made, like just gear up for tons of disappointments out of your daughter. But I understand how you're feeling because I'm looking at my little girl and I'm just like, I just want everything to be perfect for you forever.
Man, everyone I grew up with like didn't have sex until like I swear to God, their mid-20s. So I never have anything to say. I'm always
That's fair too.
I'm like, really?
Huh.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
Mid-20s is fine, by the way. It's like only in movies is it like you didn't lose your virginity on prom night. Like mid-20s is fine. There's not a lot going on. Like you're fine. It's an old maid at 25. But recent choice to engage in casual sex. Well, it's always going to be casual because you're not married. At 18.
Sounds like she just felt like it was with a person that wasn't meaningful in her life at all and won't be meaningful.
Right.
And whether that makes the sex meaningless. So I think it's about figuring out what the meaning was.
That's
and if
great.
there isn't, that's okay, but there should be eventually.
You got to get something out of it. Or at least did you learn something about yourself, or you just want to make sure she's not going to repeat this over and over seeking some meaning that isn't attached to it.
Yeah, that's good.
No, what you said was good. Do
you want me to repeat Vanilla Sky again? Because I feel like I tanked for a bit and I was working hard to recover.
I don't fancy ourselves a movie podcast, but it was pretty impressive. Sorry you missed this episode, Emily.
I just will never forget Cameron Diaz screaming about her body promises.
I jokingly said Vanilla Sky because I was like, there's no way. And I thought you got and then you're right.
That was it.
I was like, the holiday? Hey, Pod Squad. Okay. Last year, my dad was diagnosed with cancer. He has undergone surgery, immunotherapy, multiple rounds of radiation, and has just started a new chemo medication to try and stay ahead of it. He travels out of state for his treatments because we want him to receive the best care possible. I'm a high school social studies teacher, and my mother is a retired teacher. She keeps our 8-month baby for me so we don't have to pay for childcare.
Wow.
Due to my dad's illness, I've had to take days to stay home with the baby while she travels with my dad for his treatments. This is fine because I saved my sick leave and PTO time for this purpose, but knowing that this is my last child and with the unknown of my dad's illness, I've decided not to return to teaching school next year. It's so sad that you have to like save up days, that like we don't live in a place where it's like, time you need. Also, we'll pay you a fair wage. I want to take this time to be with my baby and be available if my parents need me. My husband and I ran the numbers and our finances are stable enough for me to be able to at least stay home for a year. Now I know myself and my personality. As much as I love my family and my kids, staying home full time had never appealed to me until now. Here's my question. Should I take this time to solely focus on my baby and my dad, or should I try to find a remote job or position since I won't be returning to teach? Even though financially we can support ourselves for me to stay home, I have always worked and had my own money. I think part of my reasoning for writing in is being solely dependent upon my husband financially and not contributing anything just makes me worry. Any and all advice is appreciated, especially recommendations on remote part-time jobs if I decided that needs to be done. Honestly, I give myself 6 months before I'm itching to return to the workforce. Sincerely, Anna.
Yeah. Yeah. Aw. And like, what a beautiful, difficult choice.
Yeah.
That's like,
Selfless.
I mean, and it's so hard to make a big break with routine, a big like turn up the volume on being scared about money. I mean, it's people always say like, it's so meaningful the time I spent with my but they're always thinking about like the 2 weeks in which they had some kind of like high.
Yeah.
They're never thinking about the long, slow, hard work of caregiving. So the fact that she's
Right.
like building a world around a hard choice is so much more commendable than like the kind of emotional tourism that sometimes we expect.
Ooh,
for, like-
emotional tourism. What is that?
Well, like people want to dip in and then have the sort of be able to condense the meaning. And most people's illnesses and caregiving just goes on so much longer than we expect. And so,
Right. This finite year, like
Yeah.
a year to humans, you're like a year, but cancer doesn't know a year.
yeah,
Children don't know a year. Like,
yeah.
so finite.
Yeah. And maybe that's like the best little way into it is because there's a question mark around cancer timelines always because of the nature of cancer. And because there's a question mark always around like ambition and itchiness and when you're at home and when you're just like, okay,
Yeah.
then maybe letting like one thing that I did around living with uncertainty with illness is I would make a list of questions that I thought I was going to be especially scared about. In this case, it sounds like it's how independent do I feel? How financially worried am I? How much do I feel like this is about time with my dad? How much do I feel like this is about time with my kid? And then I put it in a calendar for 3 months. Like I put like little check-ins and I decide I'm going to make a choice and then I'm not going to obsess about it until my next appointed worry time.
Compartmentalization.
And then I get back into it and then I open up all the choices again. But letting yourself have more than just like, because teachers do have, I mean, you can take somebody's mat leave. There are online things like there's more flexibility than the 1 year. There can still be 3 months, 6 months, 9 months.
Well, you're saying shorter than a year because I guess the year was like financially.
For her, yeah. But probably a school year is what I'm guessing.
I just want to say one thing because I don't envy this decision. And I get as a woman who works, you're just like, I need this. Like, I want to go back to it. Please don't underestimate or don't disqualify the fact that you are contributing. Like you said in your question, being solely dependent upon my husband financially and not contributing anything, but you are. These are things you guys would have to pay for. If not for your mother, you would have to be paying for childcare. You are taking care of and raising your child, which we don't value because women do it. But that is expensive and valuable. And you're raising someone to be a good person and you're keeping your husband alive. I don't know if you're cooking, you're keeping the house, like you're keeping everything in order. You're making appointments. Yesterday, my husband was super busy and I was like, I'll do those 3 doctor appointments. And I was like, this must be what housewives feel like. Cause I did 3 things, but like it was a lot. It took time away from what he was doing. I had the time. I'm just saying, please don't fall into that trap of thinking that because you're not physically at a job, what you're doing isn't work and extremely valuable and expensive.
That's good.
Right?
Yeah. That's really true. That's really true. And also like maybe the intensity, I don't know, baby stuff, illness stuff, ambition, like these are all maybe like volume settings rather than on and off switches. So right now, and you're turning down ambition because you're turning up caregiving on both fronts.
Right.
Let yourself do that for a set amount of time, but then just be okay with the fact that kind of really depending on how the other things go,
Yeah.
you really might feel differently. And all of the versions are good versions.
Mhm.
They really are.
I love that. I love the volume setting. And I love what you said, like revisit it later. When you were like, oh, so you said something about 6 months, can I get a part-time? You can always get a job.
Yeah.
You don't have to start now. If I had to tell you one versus the other, I would say you will regret not having taken this time to be with your dad, who I hope recovers, and to be around your kid and they can be with each other. You don't want to look back and be like, but I went to work a lot and I wish I had my dad here. Like, as even just for the closure.
And maybe even like, just because sometimes people, I'm thinking with cancer treatment, sometimes the time in which you are able to spend a lot of time with them is not necessarily going to track with how sick or healthy he is. Like sometimes people are very sick, but during that time, they actually just don't need you that much because they're, you find you're having like a flurry of decisions and then a kind of holding pattern. So don't feel like you have to fully track it based on like his health. Like it's going to go up and down. I mean, your experience of whether you're necessary and how much time you have to put in is going to go up and down. And you're allowed to ride that roller coaster without feeling like it just has to be like an all or nothing.
Yeah. Give yourself a little bit of space and grace. I never say the word grace, but like give yourself a break.
Yeah. And change your mind. Like change your mind at least twice and see how it goes.
And I hope you have a husband who it seems very supportive. And it's okay if you wanted something 3 months ago that you don't want now. Big deal. Like people change their minds. Hey, everyone. I'm 28 and I'm a female. My sister-in-laws, 27 and 23, planned a vacation last summer to Europe in the fall, and they didn't invite me.
Wait, what?
I thought you'd be like, I've heard this before.
They're sister-in-laws.
Sister-in-laws, but they're not, you'll see it in the question.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. They're more into traveling than I am, but I still would have appreciated the invitation and might have made it happen, depending on the cost. It has obviously been a few months since this happened. They started planning in June, and I never said anything. At first, I was very angry to not be included, and nobody in the family seemed to think to say anything, but now I'm just hurt. We obviously don't have a very close relationship. I've tried, but just some different personalities, and I can be a bit blunt, and I don't know if something I have accidentally blurted out has caused them to really not like me or what. They can be pretty hot and cold. My question is, at this point, is it worth saying anything so they know they hurt my feelings? And if there is a next time, would I want to be included? My husband is supportive, but I don't want him to say anything for me, especially now. And it's his cousin and sister-in-law. So not actually his sisters. So there's more distance there. Should I say anything to them or just let it go? If I should say something, what do you think I should say? Thank you for all the advice and the episodes. It's the only podcast where I make sure to listen to every single episode instead of skipping through. There you go. And please listen to the ads in full and buy the things. What do you think?
I don't think say anything.
Don't say anything.
No. I guess the first thing is like, I'm really sorry that you feel hurt and not included. That is an awful feeling. But it also sounds like you know that there's some ambiguity already in the relationship.
Why do you want to be friends with these girls?
I just feel like when someone not being liked is a terrible thing. I get it. I really get it. I think that's where I'm always coming from.
She's crying right now. You can't see it.
But it's funny how much I hear my friends being really upset about who's inviting who on trips. This is like a hot topic. This happens all the time.
Only with women.
Yes.
Because you'll notice at the top, because I turn against people in their questions. Like I'm always on your side because you're writing in, but you're like, I don't even know if I'd want to go. You just want to have been invited.
Yeah.
So that you can then decide if it's worth it or not.
Yeah.
You know what the cost is going to be because you know their financial situation. These girls aren't taking a luxury cruise through India on land via elephant. You don't even think you like them. You just want them to like you. And you want to have been invited.
I don't disagree.
Right?
I don't disagree. That feeling of like you want to have been included sounds like that is the core of the core.
Yeah.
Like that's the big feeling. That feeling is more important than any of the details. Is I just wish that I was invited.
Right.
And I hate this feeling it makes. And now I'm obsessed over whether they should have invited me, even though they probably shouldn't have, given the
You guys
amount of
don't like each
distance.
other.
Yeah.
You
Vacation with hot, cold friends. Vacationing is for like, I like you when you're horrible
yeah.
and I still linger at the end of whatever's to catch up and tell you things.
yeah.
And I make really specific dates and plans with you. Those are people you vacation with.
A closeness. Like you gave away your cat for me.
I wa-
Closeness.
I need people to take things they love and destroy their own lives. Is that a definition of friendship?
Like I'm a doctor. This is not the first time on the podcast we've had a question about like a vacation and a friend, whether it's you want to break up with the friend or you don't know or it's uncomfortable. You're uncomfortable with these women. You guys do not have a baseline. The only thing connecting you isn't even blood. It's the fact that you've married people who are related to each other. Let this one go. Identify where this is coming from because there is a part that like might be you like them and you just can't tell. You don't need this fucking headache. No adult woman needs to be like, did I say something when I didn't mean to? Then they don't get you. Or spend more time with them so you guys can connect.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't want to be on vacation with a 23 and a 27-year-old. Like that's worlds apart. Have fun while one of them's hungover and the other one just watches Love Island. I'm acting like 27 is so old.
Yeah. One time I watched Love Island for an entire weekend and it took me to a very dark place because Love Island is about people with small imperceptible differences, rejecting other people and living in the loneliness of not being included.
I don't even know why I picked that show. I've never seen it.
But that is how people feel.
Nobody wants to be not included. Women cannot be in threes. This is what they tell us when we have little girls. As little girls, like don't let your little girl play in threes because it's always 2 against 1. Because little girls are mean. Your husband should not say something because you definitely don't want to be invited like out of guilt.
No.
And then it's even more cool. Say nothing, move on.
Yeah.
See if you want to be friends with them. Try. And if they're bitches, then you definitely don't want to be on vacation with them.
And you really have the hang of this advice giving thing. You come in strong. You come in like a knife. And then you're just like, wrong question. Don't go. They didn't like you. You didn't like them. Bye. I get it. I'm getting it. I'm picking it up.
I guess because I've been that. I've been the person that's like, I just wanted to be invited. Like all the things you're feeling, I'm like, that are bad. Like I've felt those. Like we all contain these things. And so I'm just like, as your friend, I'm just like, look, I have shitty thoughts too. And here's how you don't act on it.
Yeah.
And don't lose self-respect by saying something.
Yeah.
If they say it and they're like, should we have invited you? Be like, next time.
That's good.
Because you don't want to be like, yeah, you really should have. I told my husband. You invite me free margarita.
Wait, did you land on free margarita?
My margarita.
I want a margarita.
I want free margarita. I've been with my husband for 10 years. By the way, I just want you to know, when I do this with Emily, I don't read the questions ahead of time. I do have the advantage of having read through these. So I've like been stewing in my thoughts. Not my answers as much as like as I read this, I'm like, oh, I had a thought about this family. So if you need a second to like process it, we can take that.
Also, every time someone starts with the amount of time, this is the thing with married people, is they describe their relationships like they're always just, they've been in prison. They really want you to know.
Oh my God,
it's
that's so
always
funny.
in terms of like, it's 8 years. I did 10 years. I did 20. What's your name again? I said 20.
I said,
All
they're
right.
letting you know like this is a serious
Yeah,
relationship.
they're getting yeah.
They're like,
Yeah.
Eliza, don't tell me to leave him. That's not what this is about. I've been with my husband for 10 years. He grew up in a different country before moving to the U.S. Some of his siblings live here in the States as well, and they've lived here longer than he has. We live in Colorado, and his siblings live in Florida, which already tells me you're Latino
Oh,
because it's Florida and Colorado has a huge Latino population. I'm just guessing. And we have visited them a handful of times over the years. It's always been a little strange when we visit them because they never take time off when we're around or do that much to spend time with us. Even when we're there for the holidays, they definitely have personal time off with their jobs, and I don't understand why they don't use it. I've always chalked this behavior up to cultural differences and just tried not to judge. My brother-in-law's wife in general doesn't engage with me much, even though we stay at their house with them. There's a number of small inconveniences I've noticed when we stay there, like not enough towels, a mattress with no sheets on the floor for the kids to sleep on, not Montessori style, a terrible shower head that hurts your body to stand under because the water feels like you're being hit by air pellets. There are enough of these minor inconveniences that I'm always happy to go home. So this past weekend, my brother-in-law brings his family of 5 to come visit us for the first time because the kids really want to see snow.
Huh.
They flew up Friday night and left Sunday afternoon. So again, not taking personal time off, but whatever. I'll let them live their life and we'll do what we can to make the best of it. After a plane delay, they get in around midnight and apparently don't sleep well, but they're game to go exploring on Saturday. We take 2 cars to accommodate everyone, and I drive with my brother-in-law's wife and younger kids.
The one who doesn't engage much?
Correct.
Okay.
Things are a little awkward between me and the brother-in-law's wife, but I'm just kind of thinking that we'll need some time together to chat, relax, hang out in each other's company, and that those moments of silence are inevitable until we get comfortable. On our way back after some light exploring, I'm trying to be a good host, share facts about the area, which no one wants to hear. No one wants to hear facts about
I love facts about the
Oh my
area.
God.
History.
Like this Starbucks was erected 2 years ago.
Whenever they're done, like, this is all the CVS used to be.
This is-
then
I'm
I'm out.
Drive with me through LA. I'm like, that used to be where I did stand up. Now it's a CVS. I did stand up there. It's also a CVS.
Okay, that's different. That's a life. That's a bio tour, and I'll take that any day.
Oh
all day.
man. It's just a lot of shitty venues on Melrose.
Where were you?
I did cocaine
I'll
there.
say that 200 times. Then where were you?
And I'll answer. I'll be like, she really wants to know. Okay, here it is. On our way back after some light exploring, I'm trying to be a good host, share facts about the area, engage with the kids, and ask questions to her when I can, when my brother-in-law's wife just pops her AirPods in her ears. She's riding shotgun, doesn't give me any warning, and just starts jamming out to music in her ears only. I'm sitting there asking myself, did she just really do that? And I'm sitting there trying to think of a plausible reason for how this would be okay. Like, she's tired. She just traveled with her kids. Is this culturally okay where she comes from? And I realized that putting in your AirPods in your ears in any fucking country means I don't want to engage to you. She does that for the whole rest of the way home and eventually falls asleep. So now, even though that's when I read this, I was like, this is a juicy episode.
Whoa.
So now, even though I get the blatant F you that she gave me, I don't get what I was supposed to do in that scenario when someone is so blatantly rude. I decided that I wasn't going to give it oxygen in the moment, and I played it cool the rest of the time. They were here because I know the person I want to be and show up as. But thinking about this makes me feel disrespected, and I can't help but think I missed an opportunity to tell her what's up and put her in her place. Every time I approach my 4-year-old with that mindset, it never pans out by the way I want. So perhaps I self-sabotage myself. My husband and mother-in-law, who both apologized for her behavior when I told them after she left, say this is just her jealous character and the way she is. How would you have handled this situation? What should I have done to address this? And should I bring it up to her at any point? I'm sure there will be slights like this in the future. How do I navigate these while respecting myself and not being a doormat for this behavior? Lots of love and respect. Pamela.
Whoa, I like Pamela though.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, Pam's great.
like very compelling.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's
good writing.
That is like, that is quality writing.
Yeah.
But like, I am 100% immediately bought into her thoughts and feelings and perspective. I want everything she wants.
I want Pamela to win.
I really do. But like, what do you think they meant by the jealous nature?
See, as a feminist, a couple things. So she said jealous nature, 5 kids, no personal time off. I think they don't have a lot of money. And that might be that, you know? When you visit, it could be they don't have a lot of money and she's insecure about that. It could be that you are flaunting, you say your wealth. I don't know anything about what you have, but it could be like she feels inferior around you. And it could be something that you've done, or really could be nothing you've done. It doesn't seem like something that you've done, but I really hate how women always get labeled as jealous. This woman could just be a bitch.
Yeah.
It could be better than jealousy. So there is that where she's uncomfortable and like you guys have like nice cars or something, or they just don't have the things that you have.
And this was the first trip where they were coming out to see them.
I guess so.
So maybe they'd hosted a bit, like in Florida.
And now they see you come to your house and it's so much like she feels.
Man, you've been stewing about this.
I've just been, every single question has been like, whew.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it sounds like, Pamela, because you're trying to be culturally sensitive, you're never sure if you're an outsider or if you're just getting like blatantly kicked out. And
Right.
this one was a unadulterated.
I don't buy the thing where just because you like, and I'm guessing you're white, Pamela, like I don't buy that like you should feel bad. And by the way, I don't know what their other culture is. I'm just going off context clues. Nobody gets to be rude just because of their culture.
Oh.
You can be a little sassy. You can like not have time for someone's bullshit. But especially if you're hosting her family,
Yeah.
to put in her AirPods, if she had said to you like, I am exhausted. Do you care if I close my eyes? You'd be like, oh my God, please do. The jealousy thing, we have a clear map of what to do. Because you're not going to like sell your house and you're still going to visit them. That's on her. I don't know if it's jealousy.
It sounds like she is her response to stress of any kind, whether she's uncomfortable or insecure or out of water kind of feeling, but is to close off and to have like a hostile
Maybe
smallness. And people sometimes do that to like get power back. They often do it that way. But like, I also just don't think it's Pamela's job to have that conversation. That's the husband's, that's like it's her husband's brother's wife, right?
it's her husband's brother's wife. Yes.
Yeah, that's on him then. So what I would do is I would never be congratulations, you never have to be in a car with her again.
Ever.
Never. You never even have to linger in a kitchen again. The second you think you're in any way in a one-on-one situation, you're out.
That's right.
You are now under the umbrella of pre-existing family relationships. Is genuinely, but like this is a husband to brother, like, and if you don't want to stir it up, fine, but like you don't have to protect yourself.
I don't know.
Disagree with me.
No, you're like, fight me.
Fight me now.
I've beaten cancer. Fight me. Watch how strong my upper body is.
I have been working out.
I don't disagree about I'm a big fan of like, just leave the room. Like if she's going to be a child, like you can just be like, oh, hi, Susan. Bye. Like
Toodles.
Cause I know you're going to be a bitch. I hate the idea that the men have to like be the go-between between women. There's nothing you can do to change the past. In the moment, I would have been like, I'm not your chauffeur. Like, you don't have to say it like that, but in the moment, I would have been like, what are you doing? You don't want to embarrass her in front of her kids. I would have said something.
Really?
Only because if you call people out on their weirdness, sometimes they either back down or they give you a reason.
Yeah.
That was a power move.
It was. I guess if I'm trying to decide if I want a confrontation, it's entirely predicated on whether I see a future with that person.
Oh, that is great. That is great.
Because if it's not, then fine, you can retract and then somebody else can handle the nonsense. But like, if you think there are going to be more situations where you're going to where you want to like take a different step in a better direction and you want to initially take the cost of the awkwardness and the fact that it sounds like she's really emotionally immature, then yeah, I mean, have the conversation. But there's no winning a respect game, I think, in this one.
She already is coming from a place of, I don't have as much money as this person, or I'm jealous, or I'm a crazy person. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think they will have to get along because you'll probably visit Florida and the brothers are brothers. There is the version where you show up with like a nice thing of lotion next time. You're like, I thought you liked this. You seemed so stressed last time. Why? Oh, because you put AirPods in and passed out in the car as I drove your children home from a hike.
I would feel so discouraged. So I really hear that. It's so gross to have like, you're like showing them the sights and then they're like, they openly peace out as you're being kind to their children.
It's shitty. And it was a power move.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't say anything. She also does sound exhausted. 5 kids. It's a very quick trip. These people don't want to, for whatever reason, have personal time off. Like that, it's not a luxurious trip.
But she's like not trying. Like she's really, it sounds like she's in a survival place, not a for good or for bad, but not a trying. She's not trying to make more between you. Like be hospitable.
Yeah.
Have there's no extra mile on this one. And in a bare minimum situation, you either have to go to survival or it does sound like you have to go to some version of like somebody's going to have to say something, whether it's you.
And I don't think I'm fiercely opposed to, unless it's your husband's problem. I don't like the idea of my husband fighting my battles for me. Unless it's like, I don't know,
if that was there, I'd be curious about the brothers' relationship. If you have two non-confrontational ones, or if you have two ones with healthy ones, just be like, hey, is there something going on with whatever? Like,
you could say it like that. You could say it like you could do the ultimate cool girl thing, which is like, I'm just worried for her. She seems so upset. Then it'll get back to her.
The church version is prayer requests.
Yeah, and I'm just like, yeah, is she okay? How is she?
Just really want to know so I can pray for her.
Oh yeah, that's a big one. You just want to pray on it. But I like what you said about like the emotional cost of like, do I see a future with it? How often do you have to see this woman?
Yeah. Yeah. And I really hate that she didn't have sheets. And I hate that she just felt like, I mean, not everyone really notices their shower head in their guest room because they're probably not showering there. But like,
she can't help that.
They do notice sheets and like they do notice towels, and you should be in a position where you can be like, hey, do you mind if I get an extra towel? Like, it's pretty hard to stay with somebody if you can't ask and feel like that is going to be reciprocated.
Counterpoint. Not that you need to consider it, because we all have room in our hearts to be like decent. Like, I don't care how fucking hard you work or how hard your life was. Like, you don't have to be awful to people for no reason. Counterpoint is she has 5 kids, has no personal time off, is overworked, and her husband's like, my family's coming, get the house ready. And she was like, one kid was throwing up, one kid was, and she just, and so she feels bad and insecure.
That I would feel like is a good argument if it happens like a couple times. But if it happens over 5 years, then...
Is that what they said?
No, I'm just saying.
Oh.
If she can look at her relationship and just be like, if this is a lifetime of that woman not being that nice, it's a character issue. It's not a circumstance.
I am a big fan. Next time you go there, you'd be like, you and me, let's go for it. Like, let's talk about this. Be like, and you say like, I just want to know, like, did I do something even though you know you didn't? But like giving her the chance to be like, I'm sorry. And if she can't, then she can't. But like, I feel like sometimes we're just too afraid to be like, are we cool? Not that I've had to do that lately, but having the courage, putting it out there to at least give someone the chance to lie to your face or repair.
I like that you went for to lie to your
at least gaslight me to my face.
I like a good confrontation. I don't think there's enough there to have a confrontation. Not in terms of umbrage, but in terms of like her having the capacity or the desire to create a reciprocal relationship.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm just like still really upset about the towels.
Don't make me. What do you do?
Just see her like by herself, just like trying to dry off her whole body with like a hand, just like a small hand.
Kleenex.
Just Kleenex. Her children's clothes.
But it sounds like this woman's issue is not with you. It's with her circumstances and herself. And you're not going to dim your light. There's very little you can do. And they're not welcome at your house anymore. Or you're not driving.
Exactly. Turn off that faucet.
I need to know. Can you give us a follow-up? I'd like to know a little bit more. Context. Now, this episode is running a little long, but I like that it's juicy because I'm also really enjoying having you here. And we only have...
It's so fun. I never get to give absolutely unfounded advice.
Isn't it fun?
It feels great.
It does. Like, I don't know you or your situation, but here's what you should do with your life. Welcome to my world.
I've always wanted to live in this actual framework.
This is it. Oh, yeah.
Listen up. That's what I say when I go everywhere. Listen up.
I mean, you had to get a PhD and write books. If you're a comic, like, people just listen because you're not afraid of them. And I wield it. Context. They just start with the context.
No,
That's
they're really worried that you don't feel understood by their trying to make you feel understood.
I need to feel informed because sometimes the answer lies in just one adjective. My friend B, you guys, okay. My friend B owns a children's athletic company where she teaches kids.
In Albuquerque, but I don't want to say her name.
I don't want to say her name. And the name of the company is like Kidletics. She teaches things like think gymnastics, dance, soccer, etc. That I work at as well. She is single and active on the dating apps. What happened? Last week, while on a dating app, she came across the dad of one of her students. To be clear, the dad had not matched with her. It just came up in her options. This is a family she knows very well and a student she's been teaching for years. From everything we've seen of the family, the husband and wife are happily married, go on family vacations, etc. She freaked out and took screen grabs. So we have proof of this married dad on the app. In his profile, it mentions nothing about being married or having kids. All of the prompts and photos make him look single, except in one photo, you can actually see he's wearing a wedding ring. It's entirely possible that she's come up in his options as well on the app. So he may already know that she knows he's on the dating app. The other day, he came into the business and I freaked out wondering if he was going to ask to speak to B to ask if she saw him on the app. Cue panic at work for both of us. We desperately need help deciding what she should do. Should she tell his wife? Should she stay silent for now? His daughter is on B's team and she teaches her multiple times a week. So she cannot avoid the family. Help.
Oh my gosh.
P.S. Please come back to Toronto.
Yeah.
I've seen you twice. Need to take B to see you.
Amazing.
Thank you. I will be.
And you could find the follow-up to this very situation.
Yes, please buy VIP tickets and then give me the follow-up in person.
You know what's so stressful too is that some of my colleagues are like professional ethicists and they would do like a whole values proposition about this.
Oh, wow.
They'd be like, what is the societal cost of maintaining a lie?
And what's your responsibility?
Well, and then I hear a situation like that. I'm like mostly thinking about how hot was he? Does she really think he might be single?
Oh my God, that's so funny. Yeah. Like,
is it for sure that it was a lie?
We
what
don't
if you
know.
don't know? What if they're separated?
What if the wife's like, yeah, go on a dating app. Like, you don't know. Say nothing because it costs you nothing to say nothing. You're not friends with him. You're not friends with the wife.
That's true. And it's not like it's there's not like, I'm just thinking of all the versions of life where we have like mandatory reporting
Right.
on things. There's not a world of mandatory reporting on gymnastic skis.
Nope.
You know, there's just even just like it's just the creep factor went up in your mind, but
It's also, it could have been catfish. Someone could be using his picture. That happens. People will send me dating profiles where people use my picture. And I'm like, but of all the women, like, I'm a pretty girl. Like, there's hotter women. Or is it that I seem attainable? Or is it that you think I'm not famous? But I'm just saying someone could have, if he's hot, someone could use his picture.
I like how much you thought through the most insulting implications of you being considered hot enough to copy.
Am I hot enough for you to try to ruin my life?
Or you think I'm not famous enough.
that what it
so
is?
funny. Okay, well, I would say from a business perspective, it behooves you. From a self-interest perspective, don't say anything.
Yeah.
But just from a general interest, I can see why this went to the tippy top of the list.
Yeah.
Like dad and his behavior, dad who you see all the time, checking to see if he's still there, checking to see if he sees you being there. There's a lot to work with.
Yeah, by the way, this guy is hot because this guy were an Uggo. You'd be like, why are you even on this dating app?
I think we can absolutely tell that he's hot.
Stay out of it completely.
But still remain very interested.
And keep us updated.
It's incredibly interesting.
Yeah. It's tough because it's like, as a woman, should I tell another woman? You don't know.
We don't know.
Deed.
We don't know.
We don't know.
They could be genuinely not together.
She could have cheated on him.
I like that we're going.
I'm just
this
saying.
could be part of a serious reciprocity. Probably not. Probably not.
Definitely not.
Definitely not. Feels like that's.
So it's also it seems like a dating app. Like, that's not secure. Like, that's very public.
Oh, people are so dumb though.
Especially
People are so dumb.
No one will know. Yeah. So if he's willing to be that open, maybe you don't have enough emotional factors.
Yeah.
You don't have a connection to the wife. You're not really friends with him. You are getting a check from them to teach the daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So
in terms of like role differentiation, teacher, student, separate. But man, screenshots, like just light stalking and follow-ups. I'd be all into this from like a soapy perspective.
Oh, this is something delicious you and your coworker can snack on.
Yeah, you were given a gift. Accept that as a gift, unless of course you find out this woman is being betrayed and their lives are falling apart. Then you can have different feelings.
Still not on you,
but maybe don't say it. But you can have you can have more morally complicated feelings until that time.
Yeah,
like we can feel very worried about like what this means for their family and how it costs them. But until you know that someone is being hurt, you're allowed to enjoy it.
It's like my grandfather would say, "The situation will crystallize."
I like that. Grandmas say stuff like that.
I never heard him say it. My mom said her dad used to say it. And so I should say it's like my mom said my grandpa used to say. But it will. But there's nothing for you to do here.
That's right.
Yeah. Forget the like women owe the other women.
No, unless there's a forensic report and you've got some kind of deep ethical obligation.
Report.
I don't actually entirely know what forensic means now that I'm thinking about it. Is it entirely related to crime?
No. You could have like a forensic accountant. Like, it's like where you have to put the pieces together where the things weren't there.
That's good.
It might be the only time I know something that you didn't know.
I'm learning. And also, I really want to take a tour of all the places that you were a comedian briefly.
It's a lot of strip malls. There was also part of me just now that was like, Kate's so smart. I think she's pretending not to know what forensic means so I can shine for a second. What does revolve mean? What does river?
When I start asking you too many questions of where the CVS used to be, you can be like, bullshit.
On Melrose. And it is a CVS now, and it was just an empty art space. Anyways, I point out to my husband every time. He's like, you showed me.
Yeah, we did that. We took this. We walked this walk.
That Pinkberry?
I built a life with you. I get it.
Like, yeah, I mean, all of those sets cobbled together is how I afforded this Zoom recorder.
Yes, I Frankensteined a life. Is this not enough for you?
I Frankensteined it. Kate, it's time for Top of the Cob.
It's the top with a cob. We're doing it right every day. You just take a bite. Top of the cob.
You want to do a top or a bottom first?
Here, you go first.
Okay. My top of we'll do bottom first so we get on a high note.
Mm-hmm.
This is
what is
look,
it?
well, it's just very controversial, and it sounds like I'm setting it up to not be, but it actually is. For anybody who's not interested or you should just know the red hand pins that you see a lot of pro-ceasefire, pro-Palestine people wearing are appropriated from a horrific event that you saw a lot of people at the Oscars wearing these like red hand pins. And it would be like me wearing a pin with a noose on it and being like, I want racial equality.
Oh.
And if you were a black person in the South, you'd be like, hey, a noose has a very different meaning. The red hand comes from, you see it a lot. I'm saying this because people need to know the actual facts. You see red hand, bloody hand prints on a lot of pro-Palestinian signs, a lot of ceasefire signs all over the world. And it has nothing to do with Palestine, like Palestinian blood. Like they're saying, like they want you to think it's like, this is the blood of our people because you guys are killing us. The red handprint actually comes from in 2000 in a city called Ramallah, which was a Palestinian city. Two IDF reservists found themselves there, whether by accident or on purpose, and they were lynched by an angry mob. And one of the murderers, after it happened, held up his hands on a glass window, and they had the blood of these Jewish guys on his hands, and it left an imprint. So that imagery, that's Jewish blood being used now to propagate the idea that this is all about a ceasefire, but it's gaslighting because it's the handprint in and of itself is a murdered Jewish soldier. Reservist too, so not even. And I just, seeing that imagery, if you want to say ceasefire now and you don't have all the facts, that's fine. Everybody wants peace. But that pin in particular, I think people are wearing it without having the full context, not unlike a Confederate flag. And so a lot of people don't want to talk about Israel-Palestine, which I get, especially if you are not Middle Eastern or you're not Jewish. It's a charged thing. But that was it's something that's like so in your face. And they're like, no, it's just about peace. And it's like, then pick a different button. And I started posting about it and my head started throbbing. I took my post down, took everything down to like protect my peace. But then now this week, I'm seeing all the people posting the facts. Like, you cannot refute facts. Like, that is where that comes from. Whether or not you hate Jews or Palestine, fine, but at least know what's behind the thing that you're doing, which I think a lot of people don't.
Mm-hmm.
So the red hand pin was just many bridges too far in this, but that one is just extra gaslighty.
Uh-huh.
That's all. So I just want to put that out there.
Yeah.
Because people are like, what red hand pin? I'm like,
I had no idea.
Why would you? The one that Mahershala Ali was wearing, the one that Rami Youssef was wearing, that people were just wearing as if it were a peace sign.
Mm-hmm.
That's the blood of Jews that were lynched. And I'm just putting that out there. Not shot, lynched.
Yeah.
So that's what you look like when you wear a red handprint. You look like someone who loves the idea of Jews being murdered in the name of peace. Those are the facts. You can look it up. Ramallah has like 2 L's.
Like the end with like that's right. I love a good. One of the great joys of being a historian, is the ability to tell better truths.
Like even the thing you had earlier where you're like, in the 1920s, that's when this happened. When you have the facts don't have a side. Like, these are just the facts, and you can do with them what you will.
Mm-hmm.
But I envy that ability to walk that line of like, I can see your side or this side, but here's actually what happened. And there's a huge power in that.
Yeah.
That you have. History of Christianity is it's not a short history.
Well, yeah. I do a lot of, I'm an American religion historian, so I mostly do like kind of like late 1500s onward, but really mostly
recent stuff.
1970s after.
Right.
Everyone knows I really hit my sweet spot after 1970s. Like,
Hit your
was
stride.
polyester invented? Great. I'm your girl.
I think you and I sat and talked a long time.
Well, you were so interested
Yeah.
in history. And like, I find it so compelling because it's just like when your readers are like, context. But it's the overwhelming joy of saying context. you
Well,
know?
without context, we will just repeat history. And without context, you don't know why anyone is angry about we need it.
Yeah.
We need the facts. And we need people to refute them so that I can get sweaty in my armpits angry about stuff. What's your bottom of the cup? I'm like, top that. Top the red handprint. No, it's not a competition. Yours can be small. What's your bottom of the cup?
I have a completely rational homicidal response when people say good vibes or the entire good vibes section in Target.
It's a section.
Which is always next to whatever Joanna Gaines is doing. And I don't think people realize that the idea that we are vibrating at a frequency is a religious belief. It is not a
surfer quote.
It is not a neutral phrase. It is a religious belief that we are emitting at certain frequencies, and that we have to keep that our emotions have to be kept positive, or else we are not emitting at a high enough frequency, and that it affects everything and puts us in tune with God and the world, et cetera. And that there's planes, like different, like vibrational freak levels, and that you want to be at the high level. And that is, wrote a whole book about how positive thinking developed, but it makes me feel crazy when people are saying a religious thing and not realizing it's religious. You can believe in that, but just don't think it's
a cute little catchphrase.
It's not cute. It's an affirmation. It's a declaration that the best way to live means that we have to overwhelmingly crowd all our emotions onto one side of the spectrum.
Oh, okay.
And but the problem is, I think, is that to really accept life as it is, what you need is range, not positivity.
Well, because there's no positivity without negativity, right?
And if you're in a ridiculous situation, we can't just be running and screaming good vibes only. All we're doing, speaking of gaslighting, is asking people to pretend to do an extra layer of emotional work instead of learning to live in reality.
Oh my God. I wish we had talked about this earlier. First of all, it feels very Eastern to me. Like the vibration feels very like a Hindu tenet. I don't know. But then I think maybe that also sounds deeply Jewish. Like you say it's religious. Like what is that?
Yeah.
Tell me.
Well, it's actually an American religion that was.
Which one?
Largely, it was an amalgamation of people's beliefs. It was kind of, you can think of it two ways. One is people were just discovering the power, they were just developing the discipline of psychology, and they were starting to think about the power of the mind. So it's almost like a religious expression that came out of psychological discovery, like mesmerism. Like
So this is like turn of the last century.
Yeah, it's like late 19th
I listen to the lore
century.
podcast, so I know about like spiritual awakening of America, all this stuff.
Well, this is like the development of a thing called New Thought, but because no one knows the term New Thought, it's just kind of I just think of it as like early Oprah, and that a certain kind of like self-esteem language about psychology gets this sort of religious sheen.
What is mesmerism?
Oh, like you are getting sleepy.
Oh, okay.
And so there was this, I'm trying to think of the totally obvious word related to mesmerism. It is hypnotism.
Yeah.
And so when people were starting to discover things like the placebo effect.
So what, like, give me a time frame for this.
Late 19th century.
Okay.
There's traveling mesmerists. So people who are putting people to sleep, doing these kind of mass displays of like really interesting psychological phenomenon, but it's being passed off as a kind of carnival marvel. And what happens is it goes into our culture as a language about vibrations and trying to hit those higher kind of emotional notes all the time. And it stays in every popular magazine since Good Housekeeping first came onto the scene. And so it's so a part of how people talk that they forget that it's actually like a pretty distinct American pseudo psychological religious movement.
Made popular by the Beach Boys. Because they had the song Good Vibrations.
Well, the 1970s onward was like way into combining this with like mind expansion, psychedelics. So like there's different, like late 19th century and the 1970s are like the two big pushes for kind of good vibes
I can't believe
theologies.
this wasn't the fucking podcast. Answering your questions. This should have been, I should do more interviews. Because this is so interesting. Was that you that was talking to me about Good Housekeeping?
I mean,
How it was like a religious, it's like godliness? Because
it mostly, I mean, it had like domesticity has always had like a certain, like this was a kind of at-home religion for women. But people forget like popular magazines have tons and tons of religious articles. They just don't think of those articles as being religious.
saying religious, it's primarily Christian.
Yeah, I mean, it was
Not
a combo.
good or bad, just
Yeah, but it was a combo platter of like, it certainly didn't match historic Christian beliefs because it would say if everybody's just on a plane, like different planes of consciousness, then Christianity is a revelatory religion. Jesus comes in is different than everybody else. Jesus isn't like one plane on many planes. So you can't really have like a slow, progressive view of the world and have a revelatory religion. A revelatory religion is like a person comes and interrupts the world. That's why when prophetic figures are in religious
so
traditions.
that would be Christianity, it would be Buddhism, it would be Islam.
Yeah, most of basically all the historic religions and their primary texts all have an account of a revelation that interrupts other things.
Right.
But it typically, I mean, it's particularly in Christianity and in the Jewish tradition around like the scriptures and teachings of the prophets. Like it's supposed to tell us a thing that's not something we would have figured out on our own through self-realization. It's supposed to like punch us in the face.
And so
it's like I didn't explain revelatory religion very well.
I feel like I think you did. No, we'll just bring it back to the good vibrations because when you said it bothers you with all of the education you have about it, in my mind, it would bother you because you're like, it's actually this incredibly spiritual thing, and you're bothered by it because it's like people are saying you have to stay at this point, otherwise you're not doing it.
I guess it bugs me because I try to be very careful about my Christian language. Like I don't assume people agree with me, and I don't sort of overwhelmingly, I'm like, and a blessing and good evening to you in a very specific Jesus focused way. Like I like it when people speak out of their own tradition, but they have to know it's their own tradition. So it's like they're using sectarian language and thinking it's like they just found
sectarian?
it on. Like,
come on, no, you knew, no one knows
I
that.
didn't. Sorry,
it's like, was that the movie about the horse? No, that's Secretariat. That
was a great movie. It was written by Randy Wallace.
How do you know?
Who also wrote Braveheart?
Oh my God! Welcome back to tangential happenings.
Sectarian means it's like it's a specific tradition of vocabulary. Yeah, and it has people sometimes when they say cult, they usually are trying to just
sometimes
say
when they yell cult,
they're trying to say sectarian.
Interesting, like that type of language, like a certain type of.
If it comes from a bounded religious tradition, it's sectarian. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Bounded meaning
so think
like
about
a book?
like religious sect. Like people say that because they're just trying
talking
to
you is like talking to a Wikipedia page. Like I have to keep clicking on links, and now I'm like, we were talking about the Target Good Vibe section.
Sorry, yeah. So good vibrations is religious /
You're going back to context. You're saying like people should understand the context and this idea that you should be always forcing yourself to be in a good mood to please others is insane.
Yeah. Exactly. And you can cut out all the other stuff I said about.
No, we're keeping all of it. And I actually might even start the show with this because people listen to this to go to bed. No, because I think it's all I ever want to know is why we are the way that we are. And of course, religion, especially in America and our own homegrown versions of it. But the good vibes to me, like I am really cognizant of people's vibrations. and I can tell right off the bat, I'm like, bad vibes. Like I do. And I don't mean bad vibes like it's a creepy store. I mean, like I can, I don't like you. I don't like that. And there's always something to it.
But we're now using the word vibes to describe like a whole set of dispositions and emotions. And so like you being able to intuit that like the energy that is exchanged between people. The problem is it made energy into a metaphor and a scientific reality. Do you know what I mean? So it made good vibes became a grab bag of phenomenon. And the problem is the label is actually trying to push you into a certain set of religious.
That's what bothers you.
But but the fact that there's all kinds of very interesting science and social science around energy exchange it's very interesting and real, but it's just not. It's not that.
It's not that. Two different things.
Yeah.
Or I mean, I wonder they were tapping into something like you can feel it when somebody's vibrating at a high level.
You can feel people's emotions, your brains. We're down to things I only had people lately explain to me. We're like, you synchronize your breathing when you're with somebody. Right. You synchronize your emotional states. Kind of become like we're sitting here right now, and our bubble kind of gets created, and that's what people think about as vibes. I don't think they realize that what they're describing is like
something metaphysical.
Divine energy operates in planes. Like I did an interview with somebody who said that she couldn't grieve, which is to say have negative vibes, and the death of her son. Because then she couldn't energetically do these other things. I'm like, these are religious beliefs. But now we've gotten confused because now we're saying vibrations too much.
Interesting.
I'll bring the PowerPoint next time and I'll be like, look, there's 5 things I need you to know about Target.
You don't like something being appropriated.
I don't. I want people to be more careful with religious language.
That's
in Jesus' name, amen.
In Jesus' name, amen. And I'll tell you what, stands to reason. I mean, this is something you devoted your life to. And so, of course, you hold it sacred. Yeah. I feel that way about people making the joke of, I just threw up in my mouth. I'm like, it's a hacky joke. It's been in every movie. Have some fucking respect for the jokes that come out of your mouth. It's just the same thing. That's a good bottom. That's a good bottom of the cob. I mean, I definitely have talked about how much it bothers me. Like the good vibes section is a close kissing cousin to the like Slay All Day, which is appropriated from Black drag queens largely. And it's next to all the Ray Dunn stuff, which always feels deeply religious to me. Like that's kind of who buys that, you know?
Wait, who's Ray Dunn?
Ray Dunn is like all the labeled things like sugar.
Oh, now you're allowed to show me a link, but I can't Wikipedia sectarian.
You are the link. You are the strongest link. Goodbye. This is Ray Dunn. This stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
This is the first time. Ray Dunn is the first time I ever saw Blessed unironically on something.
There you go.
Wow. I learned something.
So all of this stuff, and I feel like I'm alienating some of my listeners whom I love deeply.
But that's when it rises like from a popular culture level to the state of kitsch. That's what kitsch is.
That's right. It's kitsch and now it's landfill garbage because it's not timeless and classic and it's crap.
But how will I know what the butter dish is for if it doesn't say butter?
Yeah. Sugar. All right, whatever. It also helps if people are looking. Those are the earrings I was looking at.
If they're just learning to read.
Just learning to read. Top of the cob. I'll go and then you can close us out. My top of the cob is a light lift. It is, now that I'm not pregnant anymore, it is drinking an iced coffee until I feel a little weird. Just the freedom to sip on a gigantic iced coffee until my head hurts and I get tunnel vision. I love it. I love, it's bad and I feel bad, but I love it.
Okay, then I'll add of a similar vein. I used to have chronic pain all the time and I have been doing a lot of like working my way up in weightlifting so that I could create more joint stability. And it turns out that just means on an airplane, every old lady gets their luggage taken down. You can't take me out of this luggage section. I'm like, and you, thank you, sir. It's called walking around strength. I took everybody's luggage off today because I couldn't believe I was strong enough now to just be like, oh, this old thing. So it felt really nice to remember really struggling and then to be like, oh, I'll be right there, ma'am. Is your granddaughter picking you up?
She's like, are you hitting on me? I love that.
Take that embroidered sweater down a couple buttons. We'll see where that goes.
You're too good.
You're
too good of you're like, I lost some strength, and in building it, I found I could be strong for other people.
Oh my gosh, that is terrible. I was debilitated, and now
Like, it did wreck
now
me.
it's creating a kind of confidence that's not safe for others.
I maybe it's the Canadian in you, because I have another Canadian friend who has a similar temperament. Yes, you have more education. A similar, just like, you can't stop me from loving you. You can't stop the smile train. You're both a little dark.
I do. It has to be the necessary counterweight of this much sincerity, because I really mean it. It's awful. It's awful how much I mean it. That's why I have to, dig out the foundation from under your feet simultaneously.
No, you could tell that it's very real.
Otherwise, I'll just love you, love you, love you. And they're like,
Canadian way. Just like very few wars as of late, and we're just really happy. Most of us are from like okay parts of the country, not winning any wars. We're just really happy.
Not winning any awards. Hey, we have the Winter Olympics. I used to work in
Manitoba. It's going to be in Manitoba,
right? So we're saying specifically the middle of Canada. We are technically, I think you know this.
Yep.
Canadian provinces are divided into two kinds: have provinces, Ontario, British Columbia, Alberta, and have not promises. It's an economic designation. You find out growing up, you're like, I'm so sorry, Kate.
Oh, wow. I thought it was just East and West. Sorry.
You've grown up in a have not province.
But that's very American. You're like, I'm from the have not, so I will have it all.
It is. It's the you're not paying enough to not have to be subsidized by the federal government.
Well, that's a whole other thing.
It's so great.
There's 6 people where you live. Like, how much could we possibly pay?
How dare you? We have this one view in Winnipeg where one bridge goes high and it meets another bridge. And every time I sing a song called Thriving Cosmopolitan, where I have a view of the city, bridges on bridges. We're doing fine.
I mean, I've been. That's all I have to say. All I remember about Winnipeg, there's the Rumors Comedy Club.
Yep.
So I played many times, and I've done some theater there. And the last time I was there, I was doing the keto diet. So I went to a bakery to look at the cakes, but I didn't eat them.
Just like lick the glass beside the frosting.
And I felt safe taking a bus. Did you say your top? You did your top.
I am showing off to old people.
Your body, right.
My body is my tippy top.
Did you fly from Canada today?
No, from Durham, North Carolina.
That's right. You live in North Carolina. I'm sorry. That's annoying that I keep saying Canada. You're like, I live in America.
No, it's okay. I'm there like a third of the year. So.
And where are you off to next? Why are you here? Why are you in LA? I haven't even asked you that. She's in my room, you guys. This is not a Zoom.
And she has this huge map. And it makes me so
behind
happy
me, yeah.
because there's a lot of Canadian pins in it.
I stand for Canada. I am a fan. I'll tell you, we're closing the podcast. The first time I was ever in Canada, I went to a Tim Hortons and I was like, look at all the flavors. Like, most of it's not coffee. It's just like coffee-esque drinks. Anyways, very tasty. And I didn't, each coffee shop has the way that they order. And I'm in line and I didn't know what I wanted, or I just didn't know. And the woman behind me, as an American, I'm in a rush. And I turn to this woman, older woman. I go, I'm sorry, I don't know what I want. I've never been here. Go ahead. Because thinking I was in her way. And she goes, no, let's help you figure it out. Now, what were you after? I was like, I'm going to move here. This is so nice.
She wants to help you with your very affordable sandwich collection.
I just didn't know because the drinks have different names. No one has ever extended that courtesy. As if I didn't speak English. She's like, let's help you out. Anyway, okay. 4 times New York Times bestseller.
Launching. Things are launching. How dare you? You reached for
I was reaching from, I have an endless headache from drinking too much coffee this morning.
Oh, so your tippy top is now turning against you.
Isn't that the way it always is?
Yes.
Isn't that the way?
Yes.
Good vibes only.
Yes, progress becomes pride and pride becomes...
If you enjoyed the soothing sounds of my friend Kate Bowler, please listen to her podcast called Everything Happens and buy her newest, probably more expensive than you thought, because now it's probably a New York Times bestseller. Have a beautiful, terrible day. Daily meditations for the ups and downs and in-betweens.
No good vibes for anyone.
No
Suck
good
on that. She said lovingly to Hermes.